today to talk a little bit about the process of buying a home. And we have here today Liz Barletta. Hi, Liz, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Liz Barletta. I'm a real estate attorney with Ligris and Associates, and I'm excited to just kind of talk about my part of the whole process and hear more from both you and Jen.
Absolutely. My name is Julie Avelino. I work with Cross Country Mortgage. We are specialists in residential mortgage, and I'm here with Jenn, realtor at Remax.
Hi, how are you guys? I'm Jenn Comee. I work at Remax American Dream, and I'm a realtor. And as Julie said, we're here. We're going to go over like a few questions, the most common questions that we always come across, and hopefully we'll
Awesome.
Yeah.
So maybe Jen, to get it started, I think one of the questions I always get from clients who are starting to buy a home is, how do I actually start the process of buying, and how long does it take?
Okay, so you start by calling me. You call me. So you contact an agent and we'll sit down. We will go over all your wants, your needs. What are you looking for? Do you want a single family? Do you want a multifamily? We'll have everything set up. And from there, we're going to see, are you pre-approved yet? Have you talked to a loan officer? Because actually that's like the first step. You have to be pre-approved before you start looking for a house. But to be honest, most people first go to a realtor. And so they will look for a realtor first, and then we'll have an overview. And then I have a lot of like loan officers that I work with, like Julie. We always work together. We've been working together for a while now, and it's been like a great work relationship. So I will refer to a lender if you don't have one. And then the lender will go over like the financial part. We'll pre-approve you. We'll know the amount that you're pre-approved for, and then we can actually start looking for specifics. How much the house price, and where are you looking? Can you afford in that area? Do you have to look in a different area? We take in consideration like tax, all that stuff. So once we start actually looking, we will start making appointments to see the houses. Once you find your house, we'll offer. Once it's accepted, then we'll like move to it goes back to the loan officer. And then the loan officer will be here and do the loan process until like we're at the closing with the attorney again.
Awesome.
Just going back, from the time that your offer is accepted until closing, it's an average of 30 to 45 days. With the market that we're living in now, it's taking a long time to actually get your offer accepted. It's very unusual that you're going to go out and you're going to find a house on the first weekend that you're looking for. Is it impossible? No. It has happened before. It can happen. Very unlikely. So I would say that you're probably going to take between 3 and 6 months looking for a house. And again, with the market that we're in now, it might even take longer than that to find and get an approved offer.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the first questions I always ask clients once I find out that their offer is accepted. How long were you out shopping?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
And it's so funny. It's some people, we really got serious for 2 weeks. And, we found something, we got lucky. Other people, it's like, it's been 1.5 years, 2 years. So It really depends on so many different factors, but it's important, I think, for people to know that there's not one size fit all, right? So
it really varies. And especially now, it's like, as you said, it can take 1 year, 2 years to get, because it's not just finding the house, it's getting your offer accepted, which has been like really hard nowadays.
Totally.
The bidding won't work.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Liz, as an attorney. So this is like every client asks me during the pre-approval process, we kind of go over with the client and we explain to them how the process works, and a lot of the questions I get is, how can you as an attorney help a buyer during the buying process?
Awesome question. So basically, as an attorney, for the most part, a lot of people don't realize that attorney gets involved until the offer is really accepted. That's really where I had that beginning conversation, and people are like, "Oh, I need an attorney." Or if people are coming from other places, in Massachusetts, we're one of the few states that actually requires an attorney to be part of the home buying process, or the loan process, I should say. So I help most buyers in a two pieces, really. The first is to represent them as individual buyers. And what that means is making sure the contract includes provisions to protect their interests as buyers, to protect their deposit, all those different things. So basically the contractual part where the buyer's rights get protected. That's our number one goal when we're representing a client. We also obviously track all the important deadlines. If things need to be amended or extended, we're there for that. So taking care of the individual buyer's rights, that's our sort of one role. The second role that we most of the time have is also closing loans for you, the lender. So for most lenders out there, they're going to hire an attorney locally to research the title and act as the closing agent, basically the notary who's stamping all the documents the day of closing. And the majority of the time, we're acting in that dual capacity. So we're working with the buyer, but we're also working with the bank. And that way, it's just kind of like streamlined, one-stop shop instead of having to have separate parties. So for the most part, that's how I help the buyer. So help them with the actual closing, but also the contractual part.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very explanatory. Yeah.
Thanks.
And Julie, for you, my question for you that we always have from clients is when they're looking what loan program that will qualify, they always ask, like, what's the main difference between an FHA loan and a conventional loan?
So FHA and conventional are very different in terms of financing, right? We have first-time home buyers program for both options. However, there are buyers that will only qualify for an FHA loan. So FHA loan is a type of loan that's backed up, it's like a HUD, federal HUD administration loan. So it actually, the down payment is a little bit lower than the conventional, but it allows a client to have maybe a lower credit score or have more debt. So it's really going to depend on the client's specific situation, and we're going to review them basically, so their credit, their assets and everything, in order to qualify them for a specific product. So an FHA loan, a lot of the times are buyers who they don't meet the criteria of maybe a higher score to qualify for a conventional loan. Maybe it's a buyer that has a little bit more debt, because FHA loans will let you compromise a higher percentage of your income to qualify for a loan. So it's really going to depend on a client's specific situation. FHA loans are great for first-time home buyers. It's only 3.5% down payment, so it's relatively low. But there are also differences in terms of when an appraisal is done. FHA will look at the physical property, and they do have certain criteria that may limit a client's ability to purchase maybe a property that needs some work, maybe not a lot of renovation, but a little bit of renovations. So it really depends. So when we meet with a buyer, we will usually present their options, basically all of the options that they qualify for. And if FHA is one of them, we will help them, go through the entire process and explain the difference, so they are aware when going out there and shopping for a loan.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, that's awesome.
And Jen, I was going to ask kind of one of the questions that I get a lot too, we kind of touched about it a little bit, but one of the things that they say, oh, well, I'm not ready to buy for a year. I'm not going to buy for another 5 years. When do you get hired? When should you be hired? Because I feel like that's, some people are ready now, some people are ready in the future, but it seems like from what you were saying before, it's good to talk to you now, right?
Yes. I always recommend, if you're thinking about buying, either if it's next month or in 2 years from now, I would love to talk to you, because it is important to get you ready for it. Because some people think, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not going to be ready in a year or so. So why talk to a real estate agent? Well, you might have questions that you don't even know about. That once we sit and talk, you realize, oh, so I have to do this before. So if we're not talking, you would wait another year and then talk to me, and then you're like, oh, so now I have to wait another 6 months, 8 months. I should have talked to you before. That way you get everything ready at the same time. So when you're ready to go.
And a
So I
lot of the
if you're
clients too, right, Jen, they almost need help. Like some of the clients, they don't know if they want to buy a single family, a condo. Yeah, and a lot of
they
the
know
times
they
I
want to
think that,
be a homeowner, but
yeah,
they're not like, I don't want to pay rent anymore, but I don't know what's the best way to go.
option for me.
And
Yeah,
it really varies from person to person. Like
yeah,
some people, they are not going to do good if they buy a multifamily.
yeah.
They're not going to be able to like manage that well. It's not going to be a great fit for them.
Mhm.
So we help them kind of like figure out where they want to be, what's the best fit for them. So it's very important to know right at the beginning. As soon as that thought crosses your mind, I want to buy a house, just let us know. Let's talk.
That's awesome.
Definitely. I think that's so true, especially also if there's somebody who's potentially doesn't know what their credit score is or has credit to work on. Because if their goal, I think, right, if they're going to be a year from now, but their credit's fine, but if you have a year to get it better, that's only going to help them on the loan, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And that's what we do. Basically, our job is to help the client step by step on how to plan. Um, and, because everybody eventually qualifies to purchase a home, but it really will depend on the planning part of it and how to get the client there. So a lot of the clients, they don't even seek help because they're like, oh, my credit is bad. Or, I just started working for this company and they don't really know what the bank requires, what we're looking for. And that is huge, start looking for help at least 6 months to a year before you actually want to buy a property. So Liz, you were talking about how you help buyers, in the transaction and everything as an attorney. Can you tell us a little bit more about the title search and how it works and why it's so important to get one?
Definitely. So one of our responsibilities as the closing agent for the bank is to do a title search of the property. The point for that is not only does the buyer want to know the history of the property and make sure that everything's good to go with it, but the bank too, because they're lending money to that person,
absolutely.
and it's their collateral as well. So it's sort of a unified goal is to have a clean title for both the buyer and the bank. And what we do is it's a statutory requirement in Massachusetts. When you do a search for a purchase, you go back 50 years.
Mhm.
So it's a long history. Sometimes you have properties, especially in Massachusetts, where there's one family who's owned the property that entire time. So it's a very relatively quick search. But there's other times where you have,
Several,
15 different
yeah.
owners in that course of time. And especially back in the day when mortgages tended to be a little bit more difficult or risky in the housing bubble, all that stuff, a lot of people would refinance and a lot of documents could potentially be missing. So it's important as part of our role as the title, to do title is to make sure that if there are past mortgages, that all those mortgages were paid off, and that the document that says that they were paid off is actually reflected in the registry of deeds. We also track the ownership, making sure that the right person sold to the next person in line. We look at tax records to make sure that there's no past due taxes. So there's a lot of stuff that comes out of that research that at the end of the day, most buyers don't understand or need to know necessarily the in-depth part of what the search says. So long as we can say, yeah, it's good to go, you're good, there's no problems. And that's what we're always hoping for.
Okay, that's great information.
That's very helpful. Yeah, because that's something that clients always ask about, like, why do I need an attorney? Like, oh, I'm good at reading contracts. I can do that by myself. I was like, no, there's more to it. There's so
much. Absolutely. And it's things that you don't necessarily there are other attorneys out there that do a little bit of everything, but that's even just why I think that it's important to have somebody who's specialized in real estate only. Because if you have again, there are plenty of very, very smart attorneys out there that do a little bit of everything. But if you're not focused on real estate only 100% of the time, there are things that potentially you could miss, or more importantly, you're just not so sensitive to turn time and responsiveness like we are, because we're in this like business all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so Julie, for you, I know we're talking about a little bit of the difference between conventional FHA, but we also have, I've seen clients use that option, and they always ask, like, there are situations where they can use their bank statements, a year of bank statement instead of their tax returns.
Yes.
When can they do that?
So we have several different types of loan options, right? So when a client comes to see me, a lot of the times it will depend on their specific situation, like we were talking previously, but we do have types of programs that we can use bank statements instead of the actual tax returns, or we also have programs that you can use only 1 year of tax returns. So it's really going to depend on the client's specific situation. So a lot of the times when the client is a business owner, right, they have a larger inflow of cash into their bank account than they do probably when they file taxes, because when they file taxes, they have all these expenses and they have the expense ratio and everything else. So when we meet with a client, we will check all of the options for them, and we will try to find a program that fits their needs in terms of qualifying them for, you know, the most that they can get, or maybe qualifying them under a program that they will approve versus, you know, other programs that they don't approve for. So we do have not only like the bank statement program, we have a lot of other programs for investment properties, you know, people who own several properties. We have programs specifically for that. We have the first time home buyers programs, programs for if you're buying your second home or a vacation home. So it's really going to depend on the situation and everything, but we have several different programs. And if we're not able to qualify a client, we will give them the planning steps on how, you know, what and how to do it so they can get pre-approved.
Yeah, we actually do that, like work a lot with like planning clients.
Yes,
most
absolutely.
clients that we sit down to talk the first time, they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
So they just need like the guidance, like what should I do, or the next steps, and we'll like guide them through a year or two of preparation, getting them ready financially, like everything, credit score, everything good to go.
Yeah, because there are clients that they're going to come to us and they don't have the 2-year employment history yet, or they haven't filed enough taxes. Maybe they just opened a company and it's their first year, and you know they had a loss in the first year. So these are all, it's basically all information that we're going to talk to them and prepare them, you know, for the home that they are looking to purchase in the near future. Yeah.
Again, that's why it's so important to, as soon as that thought crosses your mind, to sit down with the loan officer, with the real estate agent, and see where you are in the process.
Yeah. So another question that I get a lot from clients when they meet with us, right? They're always asking, who pays you guys? You know, who pays the realtor? Do I need to pay my realtor commission? Can you answer that for us, Jen? Because it's a question, I feel like I'm always getting that, you know, every meeting, every meeting a client will ask.
You're saying that because, like, I think it was 2 days ago, I got a message from a potential client saying, oh, I wanna set up an appointment with you. So how much do you charge?
Yes, absolutely.
I was like, that happened 2 days ago. And like, it happens very often. So if you're looking to buy a house, you do not have to pay a real estate agent. Yeah, it's completely free. Sounds too good to be true, but you don't have to pay. So of course, someone pays it. So if you're selling a house, the seller's always the one paying for the real estate agent, both the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. So if you're going to sell, yes, you're going to have to cover both. If you're looking to buy a house, it's completely free. So there is no to have an agent. Like, you're going to have a person looking out for you, for your best interest, and you don't have to spend a dime on it. So there is no.
That's awesome.
No,
that is,
what's
that's
better than
awesome.
that?
So that answers a lot of questions. So basically, the seller of the home pays both the listing agent's commission and their buyer. Yeah. So when you purchase a home, there is no commission to be paid for your agent. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. And actually, Julie, I wanted to kind of spin off of something that you had said, just kind of overview. You were talking about all these different programs that you have.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some people who they, go to their neighborhood physical bank and they're told they can't qualify because their bank has these super, super strict programs. And then they figure, oh, well, I can't buy a house. Yeah. Whereas you work for a mortgage company. And like you were saying, you have all these different types of programs. So maybe if you want to, if someone's maybe been denied from another
I've
bank.
actually had that happened probably about 2 weeks ago. I had a buyer, lower credit score and everything else. They went to DCU Bank and they were told they couldn't get a loan there. So DCU collected all of their paperwork and everything else. And then in the end, they basically were told that they didn't qualify at that moment. When I took the actual documentation from the client, I noticed that they did qualify for an FHA loan. So the reason they didn't qualify with DCU is because DCU does not offer FHA loans. So it's really going to depend. They're very limited in terms of what type of programs they offer and what they can do. So if you go to a local, credit union, you're going to see that most of them, they don't offer certain types of programs. So if you come to me, we basically match every single program that's out there. I have never been able to say I don't offer that program.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're specialized in residential financing. So, we have partnership with over 30 banks, and we are a lender. So if we cannot lend, we will broker it out and use one of our partners.
Which is amazing because I think it's similar to what my experience in being an attorney. Yeah, they're great attorneys that do a lot of different things, but banks are great, but they have to open savings accounts and do this and do that. And they don't have their bread and butter isn't just mortgages, which is what you guys do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Liz, I have a question for you too.
Yeah.
When we're talking to sellers, I've seen not a lot, but I've seen quite a few sellers saying, I don't need to use an attorney.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've been I'm good with contracts. I can go over. You as an agent, you can help me. You've seen contracts all the time. Why would I spend money hiring an attorney? Which we always say that you need. It's always good to have an attorney, but you can go over a little bit more. And why is this seller to have an attorney representing him?
Yeah. So when we just thinking about it from the flip side, when we are the buyer's attorney and we have a seller who's unrepresented, the majority of the time they're accepting all of the things that we're adding into those contracts, which if I were their attorney, I'd be striking almost everything. So I think more than anything, it's just these types of documents, when you read them at first blush, everything seems pretty reasonable, but if you aren't sort of privy to the real legal definitions of things or the actual impact agreeing to something could have, for example, one specific thing that's super easy to sort of identify is if you're going to give a warranty versus a representation. A warranty has a lot behind it. If you're warranting something, you're basically guaranteeing whatever you're saying. Whereas a representation is just, oh, I'm just representing that this X, Y, or Z. So simple words, but if someone who's not an attorney is just reading the word warranty, they're not even going to think that that's something that they should not accept, but they're probably going to without counsel. So it's something more than anything, it's just being protected in the contract. Also, there are certain responsibilities you as a seller have to provide for the closing. For example, the deed. You have to provide to the buyer's attorney the draft of the deed. Now, you don't have to, if you don't have an attorney, the buyer's attorney could do it for you, but they'll charge you. So there's usually going to be some kind of cost that you're going to have to pay anyway. Exactly, you're going to have to pay it, and you're not going to have any help in terms of having somebody on your side. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not necessarily necessary. It's not an obligation, I should say. Mm-hmm. You can sell without an attorney, but it's like, I don't know, not going to the doctor and self-prescribing yourself medication. Yeah. It's not going to get the best service.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily know certain symptoms that a doctor would.
And again, you're still going to pay something but buyer's attorney who doesn't have your best interest in mind. So he's getting paid to represent the buyer. And you're going to end up paying the same attorney and not having the security.
Exactly. So actually, one of the things, Julie, that I wanted to ask you, because I think that this is like probably the number one question for a lot of first-time home buyers is, well, I don't have 20% down. And I know you talked about the different programs, but maybe just hammering that again, like you don't have to have 20% down, right?
No, you don't. You don't. So right now we have partnerships with Mass Housing, New Hampshire Housing, Connecticut Housing, like Cross Country is licensed in all 50 states. So we have partnerships with the states for an incentive for the down payment. So for example, in Mass Housing, we have programs that help with almost or all of the down payment. So basically you can buy a home without a down payment if it's your first home, and if you qualify under a first-time home buyers program. But even if it's your second home, you also don't need 20% down payment. We have vacation home programs, we have second home programs with only 10% down payment. So it's really going to depend on how many properties you own, what you're looking to do, and we are able to fit you in with a program with less than 20% down payment for sure.
So many options.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, guys. So I think we've answered a lot of people's questions. If somebody out there has any other questions that they would like to reach out and ask, feel free to give us a call. My phone number is 978-905-0689. I will be happy to sit with you and take a look at a pre-approval, maybe give you a little bit of direction and planning steps on how to get there.
Yeah, we'll leave our contact information on the caption, so you can please feel free to reach out, even if you only have a question. I'm not thinking on buying or anything right now. It's like a future plan. It doesn't matter. Let's talk. Let's help you out. That's why we're here. We like to help you plan to get you like on your best position to buy when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's any questions that this particular video has sprung in your mind and you have a question for us, you can actually even comment in the live feed. Feel free to ask us the question if you want to direct message us, or of course call us. We'd love to chat and answer any of your questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, ladies.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.